Hey guys, today's video is going to be a summary of the 40-hour 7-day language challenge that I completed last week. It was from Monday the 1st of May to Sunday the 7th, and this particular branch of the challenge was hosted by Joe Renee Languages and was mostly taking place over Instagram, which is where I was also posting daily updates of what I was going to do that day and also how much I got done every single day of the challenge. So over the entire challenge, I got 40 hours and 14 minutes done. The actual amount is different to what I posted on my Instagram story. I think on my Instagram story it says 40 hours and 13 minutes, which I'm just realising now doesn't even add up with the times that I clocked in before. But basic addition is not my forte anyways. It was quite tiring, and on Sunday I was just very glad to go to bed and know I wouldn't have to study the next day, at least not as much. I already talked about the first 3 days of the challenge in a mini update video, which you should check out if you haven't already. In those days I got 17 hours and 3 minutes done, so I'm going to talk about the rest of the week and my overall reflections. So there was a live stream hosted by Joe Renee Languages on YouTube, which was on Wednesday, but for me it was at midnight on Thursday. It was very fun, but in the end I ended up sleeping at around 3 a.m. and that meant I woke up late on Thursday and I felt super tired all day. So I set myself the goal of only 4 hours because I knew I was going to be tired, but I still managed to get a bit more done. I got 4 hours and 22 minutes in, and honestly ended up being quite late at night because I was just tired the whole day. I knew that was going to happen, but it's a little bit annoying. On Friday I was back to having a goal of 6 hours because I needed to sort of pick up the pace to be able to finish on time. And I had a much longer list of things to do, but even with that longer list, things never seem to take as long as they seem. I got 6 hours and 32 minutes in on Friday. My goal for Saturday was 7 hours because I didn't want to leave too much time for the last day. I wasn't terribly behind, but I don't like to leave anything too late, even though I end up doing that anyways. I managed to finish the novel I was reading on this day as well, which was great because I started it on the previous Saturday and I was not expecting to read that quickly. Usually in my daily life, I don't actually read that much. I usually go days where I skip reading. This book was quite small and also very interesting, so it was actually really easy for me to read for hours at a time. And reading for about an hour each day to me finishing it on Saturday. This day I got 7 hours and 11 minutes done. It was quite impressive. I was extremely exhausted by the end of it. A lot of that just counting the active hours, and I was also doing other things. Overall, I probably got closer to like 11 hours of total study. Basically meant that I was completely done at night. Sunday I was definitely feeling the effects of studying so intensely, and near the end I was absolutely knackered. I'm glad I did extra time on Saturday because that meant I only needed 5 hours to finish the challenge. Joe Renee had another live stream in the evening, and it was a good opportunity to get some study hours in since I was losing motivation. And I got 5 hours and 3 minutes in, which brought the total to 40 hours and 30 minutes and 58 seconds. I chose to do 40 hours of active learning, which means things like watching movies and listening to music were not counted, and that made it very difficult and tiring, but in the end I'm glad I did it that way. In the end I'm really glad I did it that way. I really pushed myself to my limit and I learned a lot more than I could have otherwise. And this is not to say that this is the right way to do the challenge or the only way. The only reason that it was possible for me is because I'm on holiday right now and basically have nothing better to do with my time. But I know a lot of people who had full-time jobs who still managed to get their hours done, which is a million times more impressive. So I learned a lot over this week. I got to use almost all of the new French textbooks I got over the last couple of months, and I finally felt like I was making some real progress through them, which was really motivating. I also learned how to structure my language learning, and it will help in planning my time, which I wasn't always great at over the week. I frequently ended up finishing literally like 20 minutes before the end of the day. And although that was partly because of the sheer quantity of studying I was doing, if you also add the hours of passive activities that I didn't count in my time, but it was also just because of poor time management, which I've always had. Because I really did have the time to finish at like 6 p.m. every day, but I was always finishing much later. One interesting thing I noticed was that a lot of things didn't take nearly as long as I expected, so every day I ended up doing much more than I planned to in the morning. And in a way it's a good thing because it means that I definitely have the time in my regular life to get quite a lot done. But it was also quite frustrating to try and think of something else to do to add time during the challenge. I was also able to study more Japanese this week than in a long while. was surprisingly fun to study Japanese, despite it being very obvious that I'd gotten much worse. I managed to make it more than halfway through the book I was reading. I find it very impressive that I got that far, considering since I got it I've only managed to read about 4 chapters. I'm definitely looking forward to relaxing over this week, and I'd love to do this challenge again, just not anytime soon. And I'd also love to hear how it was for you, what you did, what you learned, or even if you didn't participate, if you've done any language learning over the past week. So make sure to share in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.